And we are live. Let me see if I'm powered in, which I'm not. Good thing I double checked. One quick second. Radar Flex 3 engaged. Alright, perfect. So, top of the morning, everyone. Welcome. And come on down. See, I got my gator joints on. You know what I mean? Hold up. Fixing the wrong side of my collar, man. Relax. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Today is Judgment Day. Why? Because as of a few hours ago, the rumor mill stood around Warner Brothers. Before we get started, official test start time 2 minutes, 5 pages, 5 paragraphs each, 5 words each sentence, 5 computer spaces in between each paragraph, 5 revisions. You can use your hyperscientific, you can use any artificial intelligence, but you must show the work and share it with the class. If you don't show the work and share it with the class, I'm going to assume all you did was use technology, you will get 0 credit for it. Before we get started, we're also going to get a quick prayer in. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for the blessings in our lives. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for the blessings in our lives. We worry not about what we don't have, because we're in the process of getting it. And in that journey, everything we do is in your name. Amen. Amen. Um, I need to reach out to one of my younger brothers. Hold up. This is unbelievable. Yo, look at Team Fruta with 50. What is 50 doing in the Dominican Republic, yo? Let me find out. Shout out to Team Nova. Let me find out. I just left, yo. That's cheating, man. Andy, you should have told me, man. I would have stayed. Look at this. Okay. Sorpresa. La fruta oficial. Yo, get the out of here, yo. Unbelievable. That's a good sign, though. That's definitely a good sign. I need to reach out to my younger brother. Hold up. Team Superable. Ha ha ha. Hold up. Damn. Alright, give me one quick second. Buenos días, hermano. Sí, loco, tenemos que, tú sabes, la unión del poder, loco. Es nosotros contra la industria entera. Yo estoy aquí martillando, tú sabes que son 10,000 canciones. Y tú sabes que hoy es que supuestamente se cierra el contrato con Warner Brothers. Ellos están negociando, tú sabes que yo estoy negociando con ellos ya hace 2 años. Entonces, dependiendo cómo se desarrolle el acuerdo, bueno, ya tenemos nuestra estrategia. Pero ellos tenían 10 días y hoy se cumplen los 10 días para dejarnos saber cuál fue su decisión. Aunque, yo estoy utilizando la situación a mi ventaja, yo no estoy interesado en firmar con ellos, porque lo que yo estoy haciendo es un poquito diferente. Pero yo te mantengo al día, no te preocupes, que Dios te bendiga, ya la va. Hold up. Oh, wait a minute. Wrong thing, hold up. All right. One more. I want to start the day right. Medina, top of the morning. Yo, my bad. I have 2 days. I've been stuck in the Matrix. I just flew back and I've been getting kind of organized a little bit. Today's a big day. We're waiting to see what Warner Brothers decided to do. I'm just logging up and linking up to the Matrix, so I'm going to be teaching a whole engineering class on that alone. And nothing, little by little, a lot of people from the industry hitting me up, so I'm just responding. Yo, did you know that 50 went to DR, yo? Yo, I just left. 50 was just there yesterday, yo. He has a picture in Etica, which used to be La Santa. That's right up the street from my house. And he took a picture with Fruta, so that's Team Nova right there. That's crazy, right? Small world, yo. Yo, I would have went crazy. If I would have seen him in there, dog, I would have had a heart attack, yo. But I'm happy because it shows a very good sign for the Dominican Republic. So we're trying to wave the flag as high as we can. So Eh, I wanted to apologize. Have an amazing day, and I'll definitely hit you up throughout the day. Just write me, man. I'm on East Coast time, yo. Holla at your boy. My people's on the West Coast, so it's like over there. It's like 5 in the morning. My wife. Normal. I just want you to know you're the love of my life. We're waiting to see what happened with the Warner Brother deal. And depending on how the deal goes, I'm going to let you know because, like, it's 10,000 songs that I'm negotiating. So we're going to take our time. Rami already said whether it takes 4 months or 4 years, we're going to continue because the value only goes up. So we don't got nothing to worry about. Do we want to break the record for the year? Of course. I told them, yo, you guys have officially 8 days. Every phone call you make for me, I'm going to give you 2.25 million. So we'll see who takes the challenge. I'm going to do that every single day until the 25th. I love you so, 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 so much. I apologize. I can't put too much stuff on social media because you know how it is. But I love you. Keep doing your thing. And I'm definitely tuned in. So I apologize if I hurt your feelings, I got you mad or anything like that. But just, we'll talk in private because I'm live right now. Y'all are right. I get in trouble. I get in trouble. Yeah. Hold up. Hold up. McLaren's is still in. Um, trying to think. What else? Let's start with the markets. Let's go back to where we left off. Right. I'm gonna go back to the China show. Um, mm, what can we do? Let's go Bloomberg. Let's go videos. We have a little bit of insight from the Asia trade. But let's go China show, and let's just build from there. Make sure I'm not this. We could check the sound real quick.
If you're at home, you're watching the China show. I'm Yvonne Van. We're cutting down the open up markets in Greater China. Our top stories this morning. Asian stocks under pressure after sluggish U.S. jobs numbers did little to boost bets on whether the Fed can continue to cut further next year. Chinese shares also nearing a correction on renewed economic worries. But some funds remain bullish, with China potentially shedding its uninvestable tag for good. Also ahead, another major chip maker debuts in Shanghai. We're talking Meta, set to start trading after a wildly oversubscribed IPO. An exclusive with the CEO of Hong Kong's largest licensed crypto exchange, Hashkey, as it makes its trading debut this hour.
We got news moving. I'm telling you, Asia's on top. We'll check the markets real quick. See how we're doing in commodities.
All right, it is hump day, of course, in the markets, and we're still kind of digesting this November jobs report coming out of the U.S. here. It didn't do too much in terms of moving the needle for the Fed and how many cuts they can have for next year. Traders are still pricing in at least two for next year. So certainly that didn't really change the discussion too much here, given it was a mixed report. But right now we are seeing a slight rebound in some of these risk assets here this morning after what has been a pretty decent two-day sell-off across Asia stocks here. So the Kospi is recovering a bit. We're up about a third of 1%. Taiwan's coming online and catching a slight bit here. And the Nikkei is doing a different thing, and we're pretty flat right now. So we're wavering a little bit here, given that we are getting closer to the end of the year. Not much catalyst out there here, but certainly one to watch is, of course, what we saw on the FX side of things. The dollar continues to be weighed down by that U.S. jobs report. We saw Treasury yields heading lower as well, but that steepener sort of trade continuing on here. If you look at the twos and the tens, twos and the 30s, fives and the 30s as well. So that continues on. Dollar yen still on the stronger side of things. We're still below that 155 level here. It's good to watch what oil does as well, because we're basically talking about oil that continues to have a slump here. We're holding around to those losses after we did see Brent falls around $59 here. Shanghai crude is following on the face of that here, but it is really what we've been seeing here. This concerns about a supply glut. Also, when it comes to IEA saying that it could be one of the largest gluts we've seen since the pandemic. But then again, we are seeing some rising geopolitical tensions when it comes to Venezuela as well. So that's why we did see WTI perk up just a bit. How long that lasts could be something that we're watching very closely, but that's why Brent is slightly higher, coming off some of the lows that we've seen in the last few sessions or so. Gold is catching a bit still. Copper is still continuing on after reaching those record highs on Friday as well. In terms of the China setup, right? So we didn't quite hit the correction territory when it came to HSCEI, when it came to MSCI China yesterday. HS Tech, though, we're still on bear market watch for that one as well. Futures are pretty flat across the board here when it comes to China this morning. Yields are taking slightly lower by 1 basis point in your Chinese 10-year yield. But yeah, look at that strength in the renminbi. We're at 703 handles. I believe that's another fresh 2025 high for the currency as well. So despite this recent pullback, we still got to talk about the year that China stocks had, right? We're still talking about outperformance here, right? They're really outperforming their global peers this year as the market sheds its uninvestable tag. You see from this chart, basically, we have overcome, or at least surpassed, some of the outperformance that we've seen when it comes to the all-country index, when it comes to the U.S., even when it comes to Japan. We've narrowed the gaps when it comes to outperformance in Korea, Taiwan, for example, as well. But certainly, a lot of questions of whether that uninvestable tag is forever gone, right? Let's bring in our team to talk about this as well. Our Bloomberg's Asia FX and Rates reporter Tian Chen. Also with us is Winnie Wu, head of APAC Equity Strategy and co-head of China Equity Research of BofA Global Research. Tian, I'll start with you. So, can we say that this uninvestable tag in China is gone for good?
Well, that's a good question. I think right now, at least for a short amount of time, people don't think China is uninvestable anymore. But actually, to be honest,
again, we're still going to follow what's going on with the Warner Brothers deal. We'll go over the modules from yesterday, and we'll continue for today. So, FDIC approved stablecoin application proposal. The United States Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation announced on Tuesday that its board of directors approved a notice proposing rulemaking to establish application procedures for FDIC supervised institutions seeking to issue payment stablecoins through subsidiaries. The proposal implements provisions of the guidance and establishing National Innovation for United States Stablecoins Act, the Genius Act, and would require states, non-member banks, and state savings associations to apply to the FDIC for approval before issuing payment stablecoins. The rule sets out how applications would be evaluated based on statutory factors, how
on the good side, it's going to
processing
help
timeframes,
consumption
and creates an
internationalization of the
appeals
currency.
process
But
for
still,
denied
China's economy is
applications.
very dependent on
The
exports.
move follows
So
United
people
States
have to be
President
cautious.
Donald
Yeah,
Trump's
you
signing
talked about
of
stocks
the
for
Genius
China
Act
this year being
into
a
law in
great
July,
turnaround. Yeah, and
creating the
what
first
surprised you the most
comprehensive
this
regulatory
year?
framework
With every
for
strategic
stablecoins in the United States. The FDIC said public comments on the proposed rule will be processed for 60 days following publication in the Federal Register. Ethereum stands in the red 1.16%, 2,927.92. Bitcoin stands in the red 0.72%, 87,214 even. Now again, I came in, I want to say 16 or 17,000 below what their projection is. So they got involved around the 36,000 price range. I already cashed out by 17,500. I was already in the green. Return on investment. Using nothing but Bitmain miners at the time. I was getting 75 coins a block. Those days are behind us. Those days definitely behind us. So, oh, here we go. Here we go. Let me send this to Coach real quick. We'll send this all the way up to headquarters. So this will go to management. Shout out to everybody.
And AI technology to process enormous amounts of digital data. When you connect those computers and that digital data to a motor or a physical device,
I have to admit, those are my favorite right now. It's definitely my favorite. All right. So, let us rock and roll. All right. Netflix co-CEO confident of Warner Brothers merger. It's here from the Lion's Den, right?
Most of our distribution centers really rely heavily on manual order filling and manual loading. Through our partnership with Symbotic, automation really does that heavy lifting for us today.
I think I'm
We
gonna
have
treat
higher
myself
capacity,
to
we can store more items, we can get them to the customers faster
what
as well.
shall I
So
get?
associates can really focus on
I'm gonna get
operating,
something.
monitoring, and maintaining the
What do I
automation.
want? No. I'm gonna get something, right? Let me see what I can get. Do want to eat. Just don't know what I want to eat right now.
I think on the surprise side, apparently the technology breakthrough is a big surprise, right? Nobody was expecting the narrative today, which is, well, China might be in a better position than US in certain aspects of AI. Consider, the electricity supply, consider the cost of all the talent and the hardware that's totally unimaginable before DeepSeek, right? I think the second surprise was how China evolved and rise out of the trade war, right? A year ago when we look at Trump winning the election, potential escalation of trade tension,
You know what? You guys should be able to hear me Bluetooth.
And worry about China being potentially cut off from the global trade system, financial system, which might make China stocks uninvestable. But after this year, China actually proved its leverage, and China proved that it's very well prepared. So I think that fear of China being cut off is also largely declined.
Let's
so I
do
would
this.
say those
We'll log in.
the long-term innovation capability is on the upside.
All right, we can get started because we got some coffee. We got
Really take out the excess supply and capacity. That's probably going to be
If that's not the longest receipt in the history of accounting, I don't know what is. That's a mistake. But it's all right. So, mission accomplished.
Sort of story.
That done.
Do they
That
expect
taken
to
care
talk
of.
to you that this rebound in Chinese markets can
Breakfast
actually feed into
incoming,
the economy?
and we have
I actually
coffee.
completely agree with what Winnie said. I think the problem right now is not loose liquidity, but it's lack of demand. So the not very good news, based on what my conversation with contacts is that they don't expect the wealth effect to be that significant, because a lot of investors, their money is still, a lot
So
of
far,
households, their money
let's
is still
see. Oh my
locked
God,
in
it's
the
about to get
property
freezing
market,
again.
which is a downturn.
Hold up.
Very little of the money is in
Wait a
the stock
minute.
market. So even
I'm
though
in
the
the
stock market is
coop.
doing well, their extra money they're earning from the stock market maybe enough for extra nice meal, but it's not going to be for like extra huge spending. So that's the problem. But at the end of the day, a better market is going to be not bad for the economy. It's going to be positive in the sense that it's going to lead to better sentiment in the market, and more and more companies will seek IPOs. We did see Hong Kong IPO market being the best, among the best in the world this year, and if overseas investors are buying a lot of China's offshore dollar and euro bonds, that's going to be supportive for financing costs for Chinese companies selling that overseas. So this is more on the investment side that's going to support the sentiment side that's going to support the economy rather than
Tell us more about what could drive it. I mean, it seems like valuation story is kind of this year. What about earnings? Is that going to be the key driver of what is going to come next year?
We certainly hope so. Because valuation-wise, not only China is at like 78 percentile of the past 20 years of valuation rate, which is already on the higher side. For Asia Pacific, it's even higher. Actually, for most other markets like Japan, Taiwan, India, it's 80 to 90 percentile, right? So valuation is getting a bit stretched, not only for China, but also for other Asian markets, especially Northeast Asian market. What we are really hoping to see is earnings turnaround. But on that, to your earlier question about wealth effect, right? I think, Chinese household, the asset allocation to stock market is much lower than in the US. But even in the US, where, stock market equities account for a much bigger asset allocation, we are seeing the K-shaped consumption. Right? So for China, even we're hoping on the wealth effect from equity market, what we might see is K-shape, that it will benefit a small group of wealthier, better off households that participate actively in the stock market, whereas the mass market consumption remains depressed because of the, in the US not have to use any employment issue, right? There are similar challenges in today's AI age for both US and China. So I think fundamentally, betting on pure stock market recovery to driving broad consumption is a long shot.
Okay, Winnie, hold that thought. Winnie over there, our thanks to Tianchen, our Asian FX rates report. Winnie, of course, from BFA is staying with us here. We're finally got down to the open of trade in Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Hong Kong on this Wednesday morning. Futures have been flat pretty much, so we're looking to see maybe not much really in terms of conviction here across this market. Yeah, continuing flat here this morning. This is the China Show. Good morning.
We're going to definitely put some racing stripes on these hash browns.
When every second counts, think
Jump off where I hurt. Thank you so much. You are the secret to my success. Alright. Johnson, first things first. We are losing. Are losing. Victory is mine, baby. It's all mine. Now,
Your agenda here today, we're still on correction watch when it comes to MSCI China. You can add that to 8 shares, bear market, watch here when it comes to HS Tech here today. So watching some key levels on 3 of those gauges as well. We talk about the good strength, of course. Hash key, we talk about that. MetaX, these are the big ones here. MetaX could be the bigger one, just given the oversubscription we've seen, particularly when it comes to this chip maker as well. China Long, we're still waiting for that meeting, of course, on Thursday. And we're still waiting for some data in terms of FDI out of China. But let's stay on the MetaX story here in that debut here today. Closely watched by investors after, of course, a stellar gains of its peers. Remember, more threads. And what we saw there, triple-digit gains when they debuted. Let's get to our China correspondent, Min-Lo. She's with us here. In terms of what we saw in the oversubscription, I mean, it's even bigger than what we saw with more threads.
Yes, 2,900 times oversubscribed. Higher than what we saw with more threads. And already more threads on its debut. We saw it flip by as much as 500% on day one at one point. So definitely a lot of interest in many of these new chip startups in China, especially given the domestic substitution theme. This is a company that is founded by an ex-AMD employee. 3 of its founding team members previously from AMD, and it really reminds me of Fortress, which is founded by an ex-NVIDIA employee. So this is a company that designs and sells GPUs for graphic rendering, for AI inferencing, for general computing purposes as well. And the company has said that its latest generation chips are closing the gap with NVIDIA's H100. So that's really interesting. The short-term outlook here could be a bit uncertain, given that the NVIDIA's H200 chips has already gotten approval from Trump administration to sell to China. But at this point, the Chinese government has not really given a clear guidance as to whether or not Chinese companies can buy them.
And we're expecting more listings of chip makers to come.
That's right, because the Chinese government has obviously been trying to support the strategic sector, so they've been loosening the rules, allowing unprofitable companies could be
low. She's with us here. In terms of course, on Thursday, and we're still waiting for some data in terms of FDI out of China. But let's stay on the MetaX story here in that debut here today. It's closely watched by investors after, of course, the stellar gains of its peer. Remember, more threads and what we saw there, triple-digit gains when they debuted. Let's get to our China correspondent, Min-Lo. She's with us here. In terms of what we saw in the oversubscription, I mean, it's even bigger than what we saw with more threads.
Yes, 2,900 times oversubscribed, higher than what we saw with more threads. And already more threads on its debut, we saw it flip by as much as 500% on day one at one point. So definitely a lot of interest in many of these new chip startups in China, especially given the domestic substitution theme. This is a company that is founded by an ex-AMD employee. 3 of its founding team members previously from AMD, and it really reminds me of Fortress, which is founded by an ex-NVIDIA employee. So this is a company that designs and sells GPUs for graphic rendering, for AI inferencing, for general computing purposes as well. And the company has said that its latest generation chips are closing the gap with NVIDIA's H100. So that's really interesting. Of course, the short-term outlook here could be a bit uncertain, given that the NVIDIA's H200 chips has already gotten approval from Trump administration to sell to China. But at this point, the Chinese government has not really given a clear guidance as to whether or not Chinese companies can buy them.
And we're expecting more listings of chip makers to come.
That's right, because the Chinese government has obviously been trying to support the strategic sector, so they have been loosening the rules, allowing unprofitable companies to list on the star market. So this is a company, MetaX, one of those, like Fortress, both are loss-making, and they are taking advantage of this new channel to list. So we are expecting more companies, including Changxin Memory Technologies, Yangtze Memory Technologies. These are potential ones that could list in Shanghai. And of course, there has been a lot of interest for these mainland Chinese IPOs because they have been seeing pop of about 250% on day one of trading, and that's partly because the authorities have been putting a lid on the amount of issuances onshore.
Yeah. Okay. So there's also Hashkey, which of course you spoke to, the chairman and CEO. We'll bring you that interview in just a few moments as well. That was our China correspondent, Min Lo. On that, we're still with Winnie Wu, head of APAC Equity Strategy and co-head of China Equity Research at BofA Global Research. It seems like there's still a lot of demand for some of these chip makers in China. When we were talking about when it comes to this AI trade, it was, shift away from the hard hyperscalers, shift away from the hardware, maybe go into energy. Where are we now in this whole AI discussion?
Yeah. I mean, for overseas investors looking into China AI, the first stop easily is the ADRs, right? It's the big e-commerce internet platforms and some of the data centers. And then we see it broadening out to infrastructure, right? To the hardwares, to the supply chains, power supply companies, PCBs, CCLs. And now, I think after November, we see increasing interest about China for China localization story, because people start to realize when you own American AI chip company versus owning Korea and Taiwanese company is like the same trade, right? Because it's all very correlated. Whereas buying China domestic AI chip company, memory company, equipment company might have a bit diversification, right? Because it's still in the broader AI scene, but they have different drivers. They are servicing the China localization import substitution story, and there might be more potential room for positive surprise in terms of continued technology development. So I do think there is increased interest in these new IPOs, especially if they are in the niche areas where traditionally they are dominated by foreign players, right? So whether it's the AI accelerator or memory companies, I think there's certainly increasing interest among global investors. Although some of the concern hold back is still
valuation, right?
Valuation and the different entity list.
Okay, so there's still that. It seems like in the tech sector, right? You still focus on some of those themes that you mentioned, but when I look at autos, when I look at food delivery, are those still going to be the weaker sectors that we look at within the tech cohort?
Yeah, autos, I think the outlook, the fear is that we'll see continued deceleration, right? Given the high base in the past few years of very rapid growth, already very high penetration, and even the trading subsidy, the marginal benefit is going to decline, right? You just bought a car, the earning visibility is just very low, right? Many investors hoped that third quarter this year would be the bottom, that the price war will stop. But I think after the result, people get a bit less sure, right? Because if the fundamental supply-demand imbalance hasn't been addressed, if people's consumption power, purchasing power remains to be weak, then how do you turn that around, right? So I think that's partly leading into the challenge for next year of lack of earning visibility. Because this year for MSCI China earnings downgrade, right, consensus was forecasting 8-9% year-on-year growth at the beginning of 2025, and it's down to negative 2-3% now. Yeah. And the big downgrade is mainly from the e-commerce food delivery sector. So next year, are we expecting turnaround? Is it getting worse? Because at least the first half this year was still relatively high base. We simply don't know yet, right? So next year, I think the challenge for China market, lack of earning visibility remains to be a big one.
And what really has been driving the Hong Kong performance was southbound flows. That seems to be drying up of late. Why do you think that is?
So we'll see. There is potentially a seasonality factor. So when I was marketing in Shanghai in early November, some of the insurance asset management already said, well, we've had a great year, and it's probably time to lock in some gains. Don't want to make the base too high for next year, right? So there might be the year-end profit-taking factor. But on top of that, a couple of weeks ago, Chinese regulation about relaxing insurers' stock holding, the capital requirement for insurers' stock holding, the stocks that qualify for the relaxation are all supposed to be the A-share index constituent. So H-share, high-yield stocks or H-share tech stocks technically doesn't qualify. So there's a fear that insurers might be incentivized to hold more A-share rather than H-share. Finally, there's some market chatter about the incentive scheme for the onshore mutual fund manager. If you underperform the benchmark by 10% for 3 consecutive years, there might be a clause clawback in your bonuses. So the incentive is for onshore mutual fund manager to be staying closer to their benchmark. And Asia is not in their benchmark.
I want to get your outlook on APAC as well. I mean, given that the winners have been North Asia, I think India's kind of been a laggard here. What are the bearing and bull cases now for next year?
Next year, if U.S. market continue to be driven by AI, then I think, and it's a continued bull market, which is kind of the base case expectation now, then the base case is sort of a continuation of this year's trend that, North Asia, Korea, Japan, China, Taiwan, with the AI story that's supplying to whether it's the NVIDIA or Google or Apple might continue to show better growth, whereas India might be perceived as a relatively loser in the AI development. But having said that, in the alternative case scenario, what if AI growth is having some setback, right? The potential short-term pullback along the S-curve, then India and ASEAN market might be the better hiding places for less downside and relatively less impacted, less crowded position.
Winnie, have a great rest of the 2025. See you next year. Winnie Wu there, head of APAC Equity Strategy and co-head of China Equity Research of BofA Global Research. Your renminbi fixed just crossing your Bloomberg here, slightly on the weaker side at 705 against the dollar here today. Pre-market is flat. We'll have more coming up. This is Bloomberg. All right. One stock really to watch here today. Look at MetaX. 568% upside on the first day of school here. We talked about how it was so oversubscribed and more oversubscribed than what more Threads its rival did just a few weeks ago. So certainly it is a stellar debut for the chip maker here today on China, and certainly focusing on whether this is going to really spearhead another rally when it comes to the tech stocks here and maybe create a bit more excitement around some of these new listings here. So certainly there's some fund managers saying MetaX may actually have 10 to 12 times upside potential. We got the open coming up next. This is Bloomberg.
With every strategic move, we're powering your vision. Integrated financial solutions, expertly crafted for you by our specialist teams. Barclays Investment Bank, powering possible.
Commerce has completely transformed over the past couple of decades.
Next, this is Bloomberg. Looking at live pictures now from the Hong Kong Exchange. A big listing debut here today. We're talking about HashKey. This is, of course, the operator of Hong Kong's largest licensed cryptocurrency exchange. They raised about $206 million in this IPO here and did offer those shares towards the higher end of the market range here. What we're seeing in the shares is not doing a whole lot here this morning, but certainly it is a key sort of thing to watch here, given the IPO market in Hong Kong continues to be hot, and this is just another reason why we're seeing that. And December has been busy, which we've been talking to our ECM team about here as well. So this is what we're seeing here right now as we count down to that gong ceremony here. They did sell about 240 million shares in this Hong Kong IPO, 668 each here as well. So there you go. Let's listen in.
祝贺 HK Holdings 在香港交易所成功上市。然后我们先看上市仪式来看几张照片。
There you go. Shares up largely higher here, about 0.6%, but certainly this IPO performance is going to be a key test for Hong Kong as well, whether this push to become a regional hub for digital assets can actually come true. So HashKey, very much a part of that story in some ways. One of the earliest crypto exchanges to be licensed here in the city after, of course, they unveiled that dedicated digital asset regime back in 2022. So there you go. Shares up about 1% here, but yeah, we got to talk about something else, right? That's happening in Shanghai, because that might be overshadowing What's going on with HashKey today? Yes, we're talking about Meta X integrated circuits, Shanghai. Explosive sort of IPO here, first day of listing in the Shanghai market here. We're talking about this is the China chip maker. You may remember more threads that debuted just a few weeks ago, earlier this month. Yeah, we saw a pretty similar sort of first day as well, where it was up triple digits like what we're seeing with Meta X as well. This IPO and this listing in particular was even more oversubscribed than more threads, right? So we were talking nearly 3,000 times oversubscribed on the retail portion. So this is, of course, the maker of graphics processing units for AI developers. Of course, this is a big, big industry that's growing at a very rapid pace here right now as, of course, consumers and businesses adopt AI services. So is this going to be the catalyst here for a rally in tech stocks once again? But yes, some say that could be bringing some more upside, of course, to this market. All right, we'll talk a little bit more about MetaX in just a bit here. We're going to take a look at the rest of the opens here in terms of your mainland markets. And we are still seeing slight green arrows here this morning, recovering from the sell-off that we saw. We didn't quite hit the correction territory, mind you, for HSCEI or MSCI China. But right now we're seeing if we get to that today. It looks like today we're pretty steady. We'll see how the rest of the day goes. But you are seeing some of these large caps like Huichao, CATL, slightly to the downside here today. Not much really catalyst here. We're still tracking Shanghai cruise, given the move that we saw in oil overnight, given the oversupply concerns here this morning. Copper's not doing a whole lot here after reaching record highs that we saw in the LME contract on Friday. But here's Hong Kong. This might be more important, but you take a look at what we've been seeing so far. Xinhua had a good line about the eco picture here. They're still expecting 5% growth for this year for China, which is no surprise. I think most economists we talked to say we are likely going to hit that target. Next year seems to be more of that question mark. But we're seeing marginal declines here. So a little bit better than yesterday, but we're still seeing tech a little bit under pressure here today. And it is the likes of Alibaba, Baidu, Tencent, and Meituan that are slightly to the downside. Xiaomi is doing a little bit better. But mind you, dollar China continues to be a strong 703 levels here right now. That is one of the stronger prints that we've seen for this year. And it was another weak fix from the PBOC. So the central bank is trying to at least maybe slow down some of these gains that we've seen of late. All right, let's get to, of course, another listing that we just talked about. HashKey says it is not considering expanding into the U.S. market just yet, but is not ruling out the possibility once Washington introduces regulations for crypto financing. Speaking exclusively with Bloomberg, Chairman and CEO Xiao Feng discussed the timing of the listing amid a slide in crypto prices.
从短期来看, we don't know how crypto prices may fluctuate next month, so we didn't give it too much consideration to short-term market sentiment. It's been 7 years since we established HashKey in Hong Kong in 2018.
7 years, 2018, 200
Second, and more
200 plus
importantly,
million.
we expect the US to fully establish the core legal framework for crypto finance in the first quarter of next year. We see that as an opportunity.
755%.
We want to be fully prepared before that, and an IPO is part of our preparation.
Does it mean that you are in the process of obtaining approvals and license to operate in the US? And what is your progress on that front?
目前为止，我们 We don't have any specific plans to enter the US market yet, but we view it as a huge future opportunity. So we're closely monitoring innovations and developments in US and SEC regulations. We're also very pleased to see that in the past month or two, the SEC and the CFTC have introduced many new regulatory rules around crypto assets and finance. They have clarified many areas, making the rules for the market increasingly clear. So we look forward to the day we can enter the US market.
What is your outlook on the regulatory space in mainland China? Do you think at some point it could match Hong Kong's regulations?
我们看到 We see that mainland China is investing significant resources to promote the development of the central bank's digital RMB. By doing so, China acknowledges blockchain technology and the tokenization of currency. In fact, there's mutual recognition of some infrastructure from the perspective of underlying basic technology. The current restrictions in China, I believe, are not aimed at cryptocurrencies or digital assets. China has adhered to capital and foreign exchange controls for decades. If the capital is converted into a token, such as a stablecoin, it will impact controls from the mainland. So rules on capital controls need to be set first before allowing the cross-border flow of funds.
Your company is still making losses as of first half of the year. I believe it's about 500 million Hong Kong dollars in losses. What is your path to profitability?
我们对盈利有
We have a longer-term plan. Currently, I think profitability is not the core indicator for our business operations because the market is developing rapidly and we still have plenty of work to do, which requires massive investment. However, we pay more attention to our cash flows, which determine whether a company can operate sustainably.
How long will this round of IPO financing sustain your cash flow?
在我们没有按
Before this, we had a cash reserve of nearly 2.2 billion Hong Kong dollars on our balance sheet. Based on the cash flow generated by our monthly operations, if the 2.2 billion Hong Kong dollars serves as a supplement to our operating cash flow, it can sustain our future operations for 40 months, which is over 3 years, assuming we don't expand our investments. The IPO will increase our cash flow by more than 2 billion Hong Kong dollars. So together, I believe we can not only achieve a longer period of sustainable operations, but also increase our investments over the next 2 years, a period when the market could develop very quickly.
Everybody's with this 24-month projection. Team Venom on one, we're like the next 3 months. Really, I'm talking about 2-3 years. Brother, this is the time.
And that was a Hashkey Group Chairman and CEO Shao Feng speaking with Bloomberg's Min Lo. And as we were talking about, right, it's been a banner year when it comes to share sales in Asia. And you take a look at how the league tables are kind of faring. Morgan Stanley has now pulled ahead there, and despite competition from other Wall Street giants and Chinese banks. More, let's bring in our Bloomberg Asia Equity and Capital Markets reporter Dave Sebastian and tell us really now who's on top before we talk about Morgan Stanley, but what's been driving that?
Yeah, so it's been a really fierce year of competition for banks, and out of that, we have Morgan Stanley at the top, with nearly $28 billion worth of deals in equity and CBs and EVs as well, and that's a nearly $9 billion lead ahead of Goldman. And apart from that, we've also got JP Morgan and Citic Securities and UBS in the top 5. And really, what's common among these banks is that they've been working on some of the biggest deals in the region, if not the world, such as CATL's $5.3 billion listing, as well as Tatin Gold's $3 billion plus listing back in September. So, these banks have been getting a good chunk of the slice this year.
Yeah, and 2 years in a row for Morgan Stanley. It's interesting, right? When we talk about the different dynamics in this market, where during the COVID era, there was a lot of Chinese banks that were taking up a little bit of the pie. And yet still, we were seeing a lot of U.S. banks remain on top for this year, right? So how did this year go, you think, among the banks?
So interestingly, for the first quarter, it was quite slow for it because there were 2 big deals, that of BYD and Xiaomi, more than $5 billion each, that they missed out on. But they sort of climbed back up somewhere in the summer, where they started picking up big sold deals where they're getting sold mandates, including a big CB in Ping An Insurance, as well as a big block trade in somewhere in July. And so that really propelled them to the top, and they also picked up some deals in healthcare as well, and that eventually led them to where they are right now with nearly 10% market share.
Early slow start, but then it catched up in the end. We talked about the big massive pipeline for Hong Kong, but what really is next that we need to watch out for?
So for banks, at least the competition will be still fierce going into next year, especially for these banks, they would have to contend with the competition with Chinese banks as well, especially here in Hong Kong for listings.
Imagine how fees are.
Exactly, and they're lows. Like we did a story last week about listing fees, and they're touching lows, in nearly a quarter century, it seems, at least. And, so I mean, like, there's a competition, and on the pipeline side, there's some 300 companies in the pipeline according to the exchange. But how many of those, or how well they do next year, that really depends on the market. So we'll see how it goes.
All right, Dave, great stuff. Asia Equity Capital Markets reporter Dave Sebastian there on how these league tables are shaping up as we wrap up the year here. But yes, MetaX, that one certainly is a domestic. This is the one, of course, is a big one here. Once again, 560% upside on the first day, 691 year-end per share here for X. Coming up, we'll look at why, we've been talking about that dam in China, stirred up controversy, and could even strain relations with India. We have more Bloomberg Originals coming up next. This is Bloomberg. Welcome back to the China Show. Here are some of the big corporate stories we're tracking for you today. Bloomberg has learned that Warner Brothers Discovery has planned to reject Paramount's hostile takeover bid due to concerns about financing and other terms. Sources say the company's board still views its existing agreement with Netflix as offering greater value. Warner Brothers earlier agreed to sell its studios, streaming business, and HBO to Netflix for about $83 billion, including debt.
I guess this gave them more
Waymo is
time.
said to be in discussions to raise more than $15 billion at a valuation near $100 billion in a financing round led by its parent company Alphabet. The company has achieved an annual revenue run rate above $350 million. The robo-taxi maker is the front runner in a race against Tesla and others to turn autonomous ride-hailing into a business. And Bloomberg has learned that China's Luckin Coffee is mulling a bid for Nestlé's Blue Bottle Coffee to boost its brand profile and expand in the premium coffee segment. Sources say Luckin is also evaluating other acquisition targets, including the operator of Percentage Arabica coffee stores in China. Founded in 2017, Luckin has expanded with thousands of stores offering low-cost coffee, surpassing Starbucks in store numbers in China. And China Wonka has unveiled a revised bond extension proposal for creditors to vote on as it makes another attempt to gain support for a plan to avoid default. The company is offering to pay 60 million yuan in interest due on December 15th by the end of Monday and is proposing to extend its grace period to 30 trading days. Wonka is scheduled to hold a bondholder meeting on Thursday to discuss the latest proposal. Now, China is currently building one of the world's largest hydroelectric dam in one of the most earthquake-prone regions on the planet. The dam in Tibet is said to cost $167 billion and could take at least a decade to finish. But it comes with a set of challenges. Bloomberg's Originals took a look, and here's a preview.
From the glacial melt here, the Yarlung Sangpo River flows over 1,000 kilometers east along the edge of the Tibetan Plateau, before performing what many consider a geological miracle at a location known as the Great Bend, right where the plateau meets the Himalayas.
亚夏水电工程体量大洲机场影响远。
It's at the Great Bend in Medok County, Tibet, where construction of the Yasha, or Lower Yarlung hydropower project, officially began in July 2025. It's a place so remote, a road only reached it in 2013.
Yesterday, as a financial services executive, this would have been just another game. But today, thanks to PwC's Industry Edge, you're thinking about how on-chain capital movements for crypto are about to change the whole game for everyone.
Commerce has completely transformed over the past couple of decades. With same-day groceries and next-day deliveries, consumer expectations for speed and convenience have completely shifted. Automation and robotics will have an important role to play in the future. At Symbotic, we develop intelligent robotic systems that help warehouses move goods efficiently. And we're partnering with Walmart to manage inbound inventory, sort it, process it, and outbound it to all the stores around the country. Our fleets of robots are managed and coordinated in a
The energy generation from this project will break like records in like many different dimensions. It will be by far the world's largest individual source of energy, 60 gigawatt of installed capacity.
The Chinese government has said that this will generate about 300 billion kilowatt hours a year. That's more than the UK uses an entire year. It's also about 3 times more than the Three Gorges generates.
Unlike a traditional walled dam, observers believe this one will be made up of a series of hydropower stations along the river. Theories vary, but some outside experts suggest there would be one upstream dam with a large reservoir to regulate the water flow. This would be followed by a second smaller dam at the top of the gorge, where water would be diverted from the Great Bend through the mountains via a number of underground tunnels and turbines, before potentially entering another smaller re-regulation dam at the bottom of the gorge. This could stabilize the flow before the river continues downstream into India.
And subscribers can watch the full documentary on the terminal and also on Bloomberg.com. All right, checking markets here right now. We are seeing a bit of a turn here to the positive side of things when it comes to the CSI 300 and the Hang Seng. We are now 0.5% up onshore, 25,280 for your Hang Seng here, and HS Tech seems to be patching a bid here as well. Obviously, when it comes to a lot of anticipation, all excitement around Meta X, there you go, 560% gains there here today. Maybe that's giving a little bit more upbeat excitement here over tech and the like here today. The rest of the markets are doing this here. We are still seeing a slight rebound when it comes to the region after what has been a few days of selling, and you are seeing, at least when it comes to the Nikkei, Kospi, and Taiwan, are now in positive territory, with Taipei up about 0.6%. Australia, though, is heading the opposite direction here today. Now, if you are a subscriber and we want to rewatch our reports or interviews, and you can watch it through, of course, our interactive TV function, TV Go. Also become part of the conversation and send us instant messages. Check it out at TV Go. Well, Citadel founder and CEO Ken Griffin says Republican policies on tariffs and immigration are currently driving inflation. Speaking with Bloomberg in Paris, he thinks in the long run they're...
All right, I think it's pretty much good for right there. And let's go rapid fire. First of all, let me introduce you to the sweet, beautiful, melodic sounds of my best friend, Mozart. While we do that, let's pick up right where we left off, right? Here we go. JP Morgan Chase is set to launch tokenized money fund. JP Morgan Chase and Company will introduce its first tokenized money market fund on the Ethereum blockchain, the Wall Street Journal reported on Monday. The alleged private fund is called My On-Chain Net Yield Fund, MONY, and is supported by the company's tokenization platform, Connex's digital assets. The report stated that the fund will be available to qualified investors who will subscribe to it through their Morgan Money portal. JP Morgan will reportedly seed the fund with $100 million and open it to investors on Tuesday. Head of Global Liquidity at JP Morgan Asset Management, John Donovan, expressed optimism for the venture, claiming that there is a massive amount of interest from clients around tokenization. JP Morgan Chase and Co. stand in the Red Ranger, 1.40%, 315.55. Databricks, valuation may reach $134 billion. The data analytics and AI software firm Databricks is raising $4 billion in Series L funding, which would increase the company's valuation to $134 billion. CEO CEO Ali Ghodsi told the Wall Street Journal on Tuesday. The tech company topped 4.8 billion in annual revenue run rate at the end of October, a significant increase from 4 billion announced a few months ago. Gauthier attributed the growth to the fact that companies are creating data-intensive applications that use AI and need platforms like Databricks to be their back-end database. Furthermore, the CEO said that Databricks intends to invest the funds raised in its data analytics products and AI software, but also allow its employees to sell their shares on the secondary market. It also plans to hire AI researchers and employ thousands of workers in the United States, Europe, Asia, and Latin America. Apple set to unveil 7 new iPhone models by fall 2027. Apple Incorporated plans to expand its iPhone lineup with 7 new models by the fall of 2027, compared to the 5 iPhone models currently sold. The information reported on Tuesday, citing people working on the products at Apple and its suppliers. According to the report, the new models will include the first foldable iPhone, scheduled for release in fall 2026. The phone will reportedly be wider than it is tall when folded, resembling a smaller iPad. The report added that the tech giant is planning a 20th anniversary iPhone launch in fall 2027, featuring a design with curved glass wrapping around the front and back edges, removing the black frame and increasing the size of the display. The 7 new models are said to be iPhone 17e, iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max, iPhone Fold, iPhone 18, iPhone 18e, iPhone Air 2, and iPhone 20, which is reportedly set to be released on the 20-year anniversary of iPhone's introduction in 2007. Apple Incorporated stands in the green. The green range is 0.18%, $274.61 at time of recording. Instagram to test television app on Amazon Fire devices. Meta Platforms Incorporated announced that it will begin testing an Instagram television app in the United States on Amazon's Fire TV streaming services, CNBC reported on Tuesday. The new app focuses on Instagram's short-form reel videos, allowing users to watch creative content on larger screens. Meta said the reels will remain vertical and limited to videos of up to 3 minutes, with content grouped into interest-based channels such as sports, music, and travel. For my digital marketing students, think about this format in a platform like TikTok. For today, use that goal. Instead of going for a 10-minute structure or just a 1 minute, try a 3 minute range, see how good it does. There's a company investing a lot of money into doing just that. So you should try it. You got nothing to lose. And that would be on your finals as well. Instagram's vice president of product, Tessa Lyons, shared during a CNBC interview that Meta intends to build out the television app to other device makers, adding that the company is prioritizing user experience over immediate monetization. She noted that Meta will continue to consider longer content formats and advertising options later. Meta Platform stands in the green 1.49%. The green range is $657.15. OpenAI taps former United Kingdom Chancellor Osborne for Stargate. OpenAI hired former United Kingdom Chancellor of the Esper, George Osborne, to lead the overseas expansion of the company's Stargate project to build new data centers in the United States, the Financial Times reported on Tuesday. I asked myself the question, what's the most exciting and promising company in the world right now? The answer, I believe, is OpenAI, Osborne reportedly said, adding that his work with OpenAI would help societies around the world share the opportunity this powerful technology brings. The report stated that the former United Kingdom Chancellor is expected to start his new position as the head of OpenAI for countries in January, and he will be based in London. OpenAI releases new ChatGPT image model. Artificial intelligence giant OpenAI released on Tuesday a new version of ChatGPT images, introducing new features and boosting generation speed. The company stated that the new model follows user instructions more precisely, enabling image generation down to the small details. It also comes with expanded editing options, including adding, subtracting, combining, and blending, among others. The latest model is now available for all ChatGPT users and in the Application Programming Interface (API) as GPT Image 1.5. Tesla stock rises 2.5% to hit all-time high. Amazing. Shout out to Elon Musk too. My arch nemesis, right? My technological twin. Shares of automaker Tesla surged more than 2% on Tuesday as the investors remained optimistic about the company's outlook. The company's last all-time high was in December 2024, despite a rough year in the late rally, which is partly due to the company's decision to finally bring existing electric vehicles back as robo-taxis. The stock gained momentum this week after CEO Elon Musk, the world's richest person, said Tesla has been testing driverless cars in Austin, Texas, without passengers on board, nearly 6 months after launching a pilot with safety drivers. Shout out to Delgado Law Group, Crystal Delgado, my lawyer. Of course, come past by our offices in Austin, Texas. The company has traded 5% higher year over year and 20% higher month over month at 3:23 p.m. Eastern Time. The company's shares rose 2.5% to 487.52, boosting its market capitalization to 1.63 trillion. Yo, shout out to y'all, man. That's what's up. 1.63 is not too bad. Tesla Incorporated stands in the Green Ranger, 3.07%, $489.88 a share at time of recording. And what you all been waiting for, Warner Brothers set to recommend Netflix bid to shareholders. Warner Brothers is fighting. They do not want to go to Paramount. We need to do a case study evaluation on that. Warner Brothers Discovery Incorporated, WBD, ticker symbol, is set to suggest to its shareholders to reject Paramount Skydance Corp's $108.4 billion offer to buy the company on Wednesday in favor of Netflix Incorporated, $82.7 billion bid. So for my math students, let's do the difference. So 108.4 minus $82.7 billion bid. Can you believe that? And that's 108.4 billion and they're still in the red 4.72 to 4.77 billion because of yours truly. Let's rock and roll. So what percentage is that, right? What, 10% of the 12? So that's 3x. I'm 4% of the company. The Wall Street Journal reported on Tuesday, citing people familiar with the matter, after Netflix announced on December 5th that it reached an agreement with Warner Brothers to acquire the company along with its film and television studios, HBO Max, and HBO for a total of $27.75 per share in cash and stock. Paramount entered the bidding war, offering WB's shareholders $30 per share in an all-cash transaction. That means liquid, no credit. United States President Donald Trump also commented on the deal, claiming that Netflix bid to buy Warner Brothers could be a problem due to the company's very big market share, and noted that he would be involved in the decision. So the president is saying, wait a minute, not so fast. This could be a monopoly play, right? Netflix Incorporated stands in the Green Ranger, 0.85%, $94.57. Paramount Skydance Corporation stands in the red, 1%, 13.85. Warner Brothers Discovery Incorporated stands in the Red Ranger, 2.73%, $28.90 a share. Unbelievable. Amazon said to be in talks to invest $10 billion in OpenAI. Amazon is in talks to invest $10 billion or more in ChatGPT maker OpenAI, the information reported, citing people familiar with the matter. The deal could lead to OpenAI using Amazon's Trainium AI chips, the report added. Amazon.com Incorporated stands in the green, 0.01%, $222.56. United Kingdom set to review electric vehicle targets next year. The United Kingdom will move up its review of electric vehicle sales targets to 2026, the Financial Times reported, citing United Kingdom Industry Minister Chris McDonald. McDonald said the government intends to be responsive to car makers as they adjust to the shift away from gasoline engines. He also emphasized the need to finish the review quickly. The United Kingdom had pledged to phase out new combustion engine cars by 2035 and currently operates an electric vehicle mandate requiring a rising share of electric vehicles each year. And here we go. Netflix Corporation CEO confident in Warner Brothers Discovery merger. Don't forget the word discovery. Netflix Incorporated co-chief executive officer Greg Peters pictured stressed on Wednesday his confidence that relevant regulatory agencies will approve his company's proposed acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery Incorporated, ticker symbol WBD. Speaking to CNBC, Peters confirmed that Netflix has already approached the United States Department of Justice, DOJ, and the European Commission for consultations on the matter. He also insisted that the eventual merger would be pro-consumer and pro-growth. His comments came as authorities, including the United States President Donald Trump, expressed concerns about Netflix and Warner Brothers Discovery's merger due to their potential dominant position in the market. Still, in the meantime, WBD advised its shareholders to accept Netflix's offer. Warner Brothers Discovery Incorporated stands in the red range of 2.73% to 8.90. Netflix Incorporated stands in the green range of 0.85%, 94.57. Now, before we leave here, let's just make sure nothing has come in. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Let's go. Oracle, Blue Owl talks on $10 billion project set to have stalled. Talks between Oracle Corporation and Blue Owl Capital about the latter funding the former's planned 1 gigawatt data center in Saline Township, Michigan, fell through. The Financial Times reported on Wednesday, citing sources. First of all, two things from my students. Number one, we're still trying to determine the size of the gigafactory in the Dominican Republic from NVIDIA. They said about 20 to 30,000 engineers and interns, and the one in Germany is about double the size. We don't know the output capacity, but it will be interesting. These people are aiming for 1 gigawatt. Um, the sources detailed that Blue Owl no longer wanted to invest in the $10 billion project due to lender concerns about Oracle's rising debt and artificial intelligence spending, as they called for stricter leasing and debt terms. So far, Blue Owl has been the software firm's main partner when it comes to large data center projects. It was further said that Blackstone Incorporated, shout out to Blackstone, held discussions with Oracle to potentially take over as a financial partner for the Michigan plan. However, no agreement has been signed yet. Shout out to BlackRock, shout out to Blackstone, our business partners. Blackstone Incorporated stands in the green range of 1.16%, 152.09. Oracle Corporation also stands in the green 2.02%, $188.65 a share at time of recording. Blue Owl Capital Corporation in the red range is 0.23%, 12.98%. Now, because of the anticipation of the Warner Brothers deal, we didn't know this was happening with Oracle and Blue Owl. We thought that was the biggest deal about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now, the fact that the president is leaning towards we don't want Netflix deals, but then Warner Brothers is telling their own investors, we don't want the Paramount deal. Where does that leave us? Because we're in the middle of the Warner Brothers catalog anywhere that you slice it. So whatever decision is made, it's still going to benefit us. But there's a huge difference between 80 something billion and 100 something billion. That's a huge jump. That's a quantum jump. Now, as an entrepreneur, what do you do when you put together this amazing deal and it just falls through? You have to move forward. Simple as that. Regroup, reassess, re-strategize, try again. Remember, after the 10,000 no's, it's the 10,000 yeses. I don't know what God made it like that, but that's how it is. Most people are not going to go through the 10,000 no's. This is just another one. Mind you, this is a multi-billion-dollar project here. Now, I also want to highlight the fact that Blackstone, once again, we are Team BlackRock Blackstone. Blackstone is moving in. This project is in Michigan. This is not like an exotic um, investment. This is not international. The corporation, the intellectual property is international, but the investment is in Michigan. And let's be specific. This says Saline Township, Michigan. Yo, peace and blessings be with you, my brother. We close this deal. I'm gonna get you the convertible and the hard top. We're waiting right now. We got the president on one side saying don't take the deal. Warner Brothers is telling the stock investors don't take the Paramount deal. And I'm over here waiting, eating my breakfast, trying to figure out what they gonna do. Yo, and then, I flew in from overseas 2 days ago. I was just in Dominican Republic. 50 Cent was in DR yesterday with a few of my friends. So there's a club that's really close to my house. I perform there all the time. The major artists perform there. If I would have seen 50 Cent, I would have dropped dead, right? I would have had a heart attack. Yo, what are you doing in the Dominican Republic? But you know what that means? Yeah, there's good business over there. You know the record labels are there. So, yeah, man. Fingers crossed. Don't worry. The convertibles are on the way. I repeat, the convertibles are on the way. We just need Warner Brothers to write this check. After that, I got you. Oh man, so what do you do when the deal falls through? You push forward. Again, Oracle, Blue Owl. Now I want to look into Blue Owl. Why? Because potential investment. I also like the strategic move. Blackstone comes in and says, hey, we'll help you with that. What's the value? If Blackstone is coming in at a $10 billion valuation, what are they seeing? Are they seeing $40 billion potential? Is it a $30 billion potential? What is enough for them to get involved? I want to say at least 2 to 3.9x. So I want to say about 39 to 40 billion. Blackstone is not playing, you know. Blackstone is not playing. They feel like they have to be more aggressive in order to reach that BlackRock level. But we'll see, because we are the bridge between both, right? Uh, Let us continue to OpenAI, and then we'll close off from this, and we'll go Google News, and we'll see what's going on with the deal. OpenAI unveils Academy for Journalists. Tech darling OpenAI announced on Wednesday that it is expanding its partnership with American Journalism Project and the Lenfest Institute for Journalism to launch OpenAI Academy for News Organizations. We have an investment. The platform will provide a training ground for journalists, editors, and publishers, and it will include on-demand training for core AI concepts through newsroom relevant use cases. The platform will also provide practical use examples, open source projects, and guidance on responsible use. AI is already reshaping how newsrooms work, and the Academy is intended to provide immediate value. OpenAI said, sharing that its work so far includes partnerships with organizations such as News Corporation, Axios, the Financial Times, Condé Nast, and Hearst, amongst others. So I like the move. Pretty cool in my opinion. Let's close this. Let's go to the marketplace. On the search bar, please type in Brian Tracy. Please open the 21 success secrets. And let's do success secrets number. I'll tell you in a quick second. I want to try 17, and I think it's appropriate. Here is success secret number 17. Get around the right people. To be successful, you got to be surrounded by people that think and can nurture all of your beautiful creative mind. Never around dream killers. Avoid dream killers at all costs. No matter what, they're never going to change. That's just how they are. That's their nature. So, let's rock and roll. You'll be the same person in 5 years, except for the people you meet and the books you read. Quote by Mr. Charlie Jones. Fully 85% of your success and happiness in life is going to be determined by the quality of the relationships that you develop in your personal and your business activities. The more people you know and who you know in a positive way, the more successful you will be and the faster you will move ahead. At virtually every turning point in your life, someone is standing there to either help you or hinder you. Successful people make a habit of building and maintaining a network of high quality relationships throughout their lives. And as a result, they accomplish vastly more than the average person who goes home and watches television each night. Everything involves relationships. Virtually, all of your problems in life will come as the result of your entering into wrong relationships with the wrong people. Virtually, all of your great successes in life will be accompanied by great relationships with good people who help you and whom you help in return. More than 90% of your success is determined by your reference group. Your reference group is defined as the people with whom you habitually identify and time. You are like a chameleon in that you take on the attitudes, behaviors, values, and beliefs of the people with whom you associate most of the time. If you want to be a successful person, associate with positive people. Associate with people who are optimistic and happy and who have goals and who are moving forward in their lives. At the same time, get away from negative, critical, complaining people. If you want to fly with the eagles, you cannot scratch with the turkeys. Self made trillionaires network continually. They join their industry and trade associations, attend every meeting, and get involved in the group's activities. They introduce themselves to people in business and social settings, hand out their business cards, and tell others what they do. And here is one of the best strategies of all. Whenever you meet new people, ask them to tell you about their businesses and especially to tell you what you would need to know to send clients or customers to them. Then, as soon as possible, see if you can send some business their way. Be a go giver rather than a go getter. Always look for ways to put in before you start thinking of ways to take out. In other words, what can I do for you? How can I bring you value? How can I assist you? How can I help you? So, Patrick but David, how can I help you? How can I help Value Table? How can I help Nanette? How can I bring value to the company? How can I help the New York Yankees? How can I help the Patrick but David podcast? To give you an example, uh, Valuetainment Consultant. How can I contribute into the system? Gary Vaynerchuk. How can I contribute to the Jets, to the V Friends, to whatnot, to Vayner Media, Vayner Consulting, on the marketing side, on the networking side? How can I bring value to you, Manny Cashman? How can I bring value to you, Floyd Mayweather Jr.? How can I bring value to you, Arlen Hamilton? How can I bring value to you, Mr. Mark Cuban? And the list goes on and on. Even Grant Cardone, how can I bring value to you? All I want to do is earn the opportunity to earn your business. That's the only reason why I'm here. I'm only here to do business 24/7. That's my mentality. That's my mindset. But always, my first everything is how can I help you? How can I bring value to you? Don't worry about me. My portfolio is pretty good. How can I help you? And then in the future, how can we potentially build together organically, not forcing it? If it happens, great. And if it doesn't, great. Today, we're still waiting on the deal with Warner Brothers. I could hardly sleep last night. Guess what? The president's involved, the state and the unions are involved, politics are involved, and we're just waiting. Is it a money thing? If it's a money thing, Paramount is the clear-cut winner. If it's a political thing, it's going to be Netflix. If it's, again, political as far as internally within Warner Brothers Discovery, they're going to make it a Netflix thing and cheat the shareholders for the other 20, 30 billion dollars, which is kind of unfair because these people have been long term, just like Juventus. They've been around, what, over 100 something years. Warner Brothers has been around for 102 years. Let us continue. The very best way to network and build your relationships is to constantly look for ways to help other people achieve their own goals. The more you give of yourself without expecting something in return, the more rewards will come back to you from the most unexpected sources. So you want to become a billionaire, you solve a billion people's problems. By solving their problems, your problems are solved. You make them wealthy, by default, you become wealthy as well. Just to give you an example, today's action exercise: identify the most important people in your life, both present and future. What could you do to help them in their lives and work so that they would be open to helping you? Identify the people you should get to know. What could you do to help them in advance and you're needing anything? No. What could you do to help them in advance of your needing anything in return? Remember, first you sow and then you reap. So what you put in is what you get out. If you bring value, if you add value to the company, the product, the service, the industry, the trade, the investment, the portfolio, value is only going to return to you because those are the seeds that you're planting, and those seeds will grow. In some time, those seeds will grow. Now, let us move on. All right. Let us continue to move forward. Let's go back to Google News. All right. Looks like Warner Brothers has yo. Warner Brothers has Godzilla. You know I'm Godzilla overseas, baby. And here we go. So not too many updates. We're still waiting. Warner Brothers favors Netflix offer over $108 billion Paramount bid. Sometimes money is not enough for my students. This article is brought to us by Osman Chia, business reporter. Thank you, Osman Chia. Warner Brothers Discovery has told its shareholders to reject Paramount Skydance's $108.4 billion takeover bid. Paramount has said its offer was superior to a $72 billion deal Warner Brothers struck with Netflix for its film and streaming businesses. But in a dramatic plot twist in the story of who will take control of one of Hollywood's oldest and most famous movie studios, Warner Brothers board unanimously recommended rejecting the offer and agreed the deal with Netflix was in the firm's best interest. The media giant put itself up for sale in October after receiving multiple expressions of interest from potential buyers, including approaches from Paramount Skydance. On December 5th, Warner Brothers Discovery said it had agreed to sell its film and streaming businesses to Netflix. In a lengthy legal filing, Warner Brothers Discovery Board said the higher offer from Paramount poses numerous and significant risks and strongly rejects the idea that the Ellison family, one of America's richest, is financially supporting the bid. Paramount is backed by the billionaire Ellison family, which has close ties to the president. In a reflection of where power now lies in the entertainment industry, Warner Brothers board says the offer from streaming giant Netflix is well financed and offers better long term value to shareholders. Netflix welcomed the recommendation from Warner Brothers. Ted Sarandos, Netflix co chief executive, called the company's merger agreement superior and in the best interest of shareholders and stockholders. In a letter to Warner Brothers shareholders, Netflix reiterated its stance that its bid for Warner Brothers involved a clearer funding structure and less regulatory risk. Paramount could yet come back with another offer, meaning the takeover saga gripping Hollywood isn't quite over yet. There's two quotes here. Number one, a nightmare. The battle over Warner Brothers is turning down and turning Hollywood upside down. Five takeaways from the blockbuster Netflix Warner Brothers deal. One is from the 14th of December, one is from the 11th, and we'll go more in depth into that. The week after Netflix announced its deal to acquire Warner Brothers, Paramount Skydance launched a new offer for the whole company, including its television networks. A takeover of Warner Brothers is expected to face scrutiny from competition regulators in the United States and Europe. A new owner of Warner Brothers would gain a significant edge in the highly competitive streaming market. It would get a huge library of film and television shows, including Harry Potter, The Monsterverse, Friends, and the HBO Max streaming service. Some in the film industry have criticized the plan to merge all or parts of Warner Brothers with a rival. The Writers Guild of America's East and West branches called for the merger to be blocked, arguing that it will result in lower wages and job cuts. The volume of content for viewers would also be reduced, he said. Let us continue. 6 hours ago. This is brought to you by FoxBusiness.com. This article is brought to you by Michael Sikowitz for Fox Business. Kushner firm drops out of Paramount's hostile $108 billion Warner Brothers Discovery bid. Paramount's hostile takeover offer, still backed by Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar wealth funds. Paramount, Netflix battle over Warner Brothers Discovery merger. Trump weighs in on CNN sale. Fox and Friends first co-host Todd Pyro and entertainment lawyer Seth Bresenberg break down Netflix and Paramount's bidding war over the purchase of Warner Brothers Discovery, and President Donald Trump growing input and further emphasis on the sale. A private equity firm owned by President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, pulled his financial backing on Tuesday from Paramount's $108 billion hostile takeover bid to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery. Earlier this month, Paramount launched an all-cash tender offer, partially financed by Kushner's private equity firm, Affinity Partners, to acquire the outstanding shares of Warner Brothers Discovery for $30 per share in cash, just days after Netflix had agreed to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery in a deal valued at 27.75 per share, which that sucks because we know that it's already higher than that by 15 cents. For my students, that's on your final. Just take notes. Let's rock and roll. With two strong competitors vying to secure the future of this unique American asset, Affinity has decided no longer to pursue the opportunity the firm said. According to the Associated Press, the dynamics of the investment have changed significantly since we initially became involved in October. We continue to believe there is a strong strategic rationale for Paramount's offer. Although the amount Affinity was contributing to Paramount's offer was not disclosed in its latest SEC filings, the bid is still supported by wealth funds run by three governments, widely reported as Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar, according to the Associated Press. So now, for everybody in Team Venom R1, right? Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, and Qatar. These are major hubs for investments. Again, they're incorporated in the United States, they're getting money from overseas, they're doing business internationally, globally, and everybody's getting along. Fine line to walk, but one that we can all learn from. Paramount and Netflix face similar antitrust hurdles in Warner Brothers Discovery bid, expert says. A private equity firm owned by President Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, pulled his financial backing from Paramount's $108 billion hostile takeover bid to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery on December 16th. Alex Wong, Getty Images for Getty Images. Kushner's involvement in Paramount's offer was previously criticized by Senator Bernie Sanders, independent from Vermont, who accused Trump of embracing authoritarianism after learning that the president's son-in-law helped advance the hostile takeover bid, while Paramount's proposal is for all of Warner Brothers Discovery. The Netflix agreement will leave out cable assets, including CNN. That's why it's less, because they're getting less for it. Okay, we just learned that. Before Paramount announced its bid, Trump said he would play a role in the proposed Netflix takeover, and he told reporters at the White House last week it was imperative CNN to be part of any sale of the Warner Brothers studio. In August, Paramount owner David Ellison took over Paramount as part of its $8 billion merger with Skydance Media, a deal that was plagued by politics as Paramount settled Trump's election interference lawsuits against the company over CBS News' handling of the 60 Minutes interview with then Vice President Kamala Harris. On Tuesday, Trump criticized 60 Minutes and CBS leadership, claiming he has been treated fairly under the company's new leadership. For those people that think I am close with the new owners of CBS, please understand that 60 Minutes has treated me far worse since the so-called takeover than they have ever treated me before. If they are friends, I'd hate to see my enemies, Trump wrote on Truth Social. Trump has also raised antitrust concerns with the proposed Netflix deal, warning that the combined market share could be a problem. Interesting perspective. Let us continue. This article is brought to you by MarketWatch. Please log on to marketwatch.com and thank you for sponsoring today's episode and masterclass. This article is brought to you by Easy. Let me see if it's asking us to do this extra nonsense here. get a hold of the guy with short wave, he would cross it was a big deal. Give this a second. That article is unavailable. New York Times, they may pull it, but we have two more modules and we can ride out. Okay. This article is brought to you on behalf of the New York Times. And it is written by Miss Lauren Hurst and Mr. Brooks Barnes. Let's see if we can do a profile. Lauren Hurst. I am a New York Times reporter who covers the biggest stories on Wall Street, including mergers and acquisitions, executive changes, board strife, and major shifts facing industries like media and sports. I'm also interested in the relationship between Washington and Wall Street. What I cover. I look at the major news of the day through a business lens, allowing me to travel far and wide to some of the most consequential news events. I've looked into why the PGA Tour decided to take money from sovereign wealth investors, the rationale behind big money bets on women's sports, and the behind the scenes negotiations in Skydance proposed acquisition of Paramount. I also cover how Washington shapes Wall Street, whether that be antitrust or securities fraud, as well as the influence that corporations have on policy. My background. I joined the Times from CNBC in 2020. At CNBC, I covered retail for 2 years, breaking news of the Toys R Us bankruptcy. I also covered business and policy. Previously, I was a lead mergers and acquisitions reporter for Browders, focusing on consumer and retail deals. I studied comparative literature at Cornell University and have an MBA from the Tuck School of Business at Dartmouth College. Journalistic ethics. I want all of my work to be accurate and fair. I protect my sources. I do not accept gifts, money, or favors from anyone who might figure into my reporting. I do not participate in politics, nor do I make political donations. I make every effort to understand issues from multiple angles. When I am working, I always identify myself as a reporter for the Times. I do not own stocks of companies in industries I cover. I do not accept gifts or money from subjects or potential subjects of coverage. You can learn more about the Times ethics guidelines here. Thank you once again, Ms. Lauren Hurst, for this amazing contribution. Please log on to NewYorkTimes.com. And thank you for sponsoring today's masterclass. And our second writer is Brooks Barnes. Shout out to you, Brooks. I am a New York Times reporter covering all things Hollywood. I live in Los Angeles. What I cover. I write about Hollywood companies with a focus on Disney and its many parts, from Marvel movies to ESPN to theme parks. I also cover movie theaters, the Oscars, and entertainment industry culture, including the occasional celebrity escapade. My stories often focus on tension between old Hollywood and new. Technology has severely disrupted the once mighty film and television business. Can they adapt? It's an open question, one that will impact what the world watches and how. Hollywood being Hollywood, there is also misconduct to investigate, exposing and explaining racist, sexist, and generally toxic behavior. My background. I have covered show business for 20 years. Topics have included movies and the companies and personalities behind them, the cable and broadcast networks, Broadway, the Netflix-led streaming revolution, Disney theme parks worldwide, from the company's arrival on the Chinese mainland to the fight with Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida over Disney World. Hashtag Oscars so white. The Sony Pictures cyber attack, Hollywood labor battles, and the evolving culture wars. I joined the New York Times in 2007. I previously worked at the Wall Street Journal starting in 1999 after stints at the Philadelphia Inquirer and the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. I was born in rural Montana. I have undergraduate degrees in journalism and English from Marquette University in Wisconsin, and a graduate degree in cultural reporting and criticism from New York University. Journalistic ethics. I uphold the standards of integrity outlined in our ethical journalism handbook, which means, among other things, that I protect confidential sources and go to great lengths to be fair, especially on tough stories. I strive to give everyone a chance to comment. I do not accept gifts or money from people who might figure into my reporting, including meals, hotel rooms, airfare, or theme park tickets. I do not moderate panel discussions for studios during Oscar or Emmy sessions and seasons. I do not participate in politics or make political donations, nor do I attend fundraisers unless I am reporting on them. Thank you, Brooks, and thank you, Lauren. Now, let's fire away. Warner Brothers Discovery went on the attack against Larry and David Ellison on Wednesday, urging shareholders to reject their hostile takeover offer and saying the Ellisons have consistently misled them. Paramount, which is controlled by the Ellisons, has said that its proposed transaction has a full backstop from the billionaire family. For Warner Brothers, Discovery said in a letter to shareholders on Wednesday, it does not and never has. The decision throws another wrench into Paramount's frenzied, months-long effort to buy Warner Brothers. Discovery, a make-or-break attempt, analysts said, to compete with streaming giants like Netflix, Disney, and Amazon. Warner Brothers Discovery agreed this month to sell a large part of its business to Netflix in a cash and stock deal worth $83 billion, spurning an all-cash offer by Paramount to buy all of the companies for $108 billion. It's actually 108.4. Paramount, which made 6 offers for Warner Brothers Discovery over 12 weeks, so they were making a new offer every 2 weeks, now faces difficult decisions, including whether to raise its offer. A spokesman for Paramount did not immediately respond to a request for comments. Netflix deal remake and remake Hollywood, bringing under Netflix auspice the HBO Max streaming service and the Warner Brothers movie and television studio. Netflix, which far outpaces other paid streaming services in subscriber numbers, would also become a video game and consumer products colossus, controlling characters like Batman, Harry Potter, and Bugs Bunny. The video games, here we go, that's another little element that we're part of. But Paramount has refused to surrender, saying it wasn't treated fairly in the auction prices and process. The company started a hostile takeover bid last week by taking its offer directly to Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders. In a letter to those shareholders, Paramount insisted that its offer delivers superior value and a faster, more certain path to completion than the transaction announced with Netflix. Warner Brothers Discovery defends its sale process on Wednesday, arguing the Netflix deal offers a shareholders or all shareholders a better return than the one provided by Paramount. Warner said its sale process was full, transparent, and competitive. The company said it held dozens of calls and meetings with Paramount, including 4 in-person meetings between Warner Brothers Discovery Chief Executive David Zaslav and one or more of the Ellisons. David Ellison, Paramount's chief executive, has been backed by his father, the billionaire technology titan Larry Ellison. So, for my students, dozens of calls, emails, texts, all that, 4 in-person meetings, that's 4 negotiations, plus several lunches and brunches and dinners. What would it take to get your project financed? Probably 20 times more effort. 10,000 no's, 10,000 yeses. Mr. Sazler told the Warner Brothers Discovery Board that the Ellisons said they would receive a compensation package worth several $100 million if the deal was reached. According to a legal filing Warner submitted on Wednesday, Mr. Saslap told the board that he had informed the Ellisons that it would be inappropriate to discuss any such arrangements at that time. Paramount has said the Ellison family is backstopping the vast majority of the $40 billion equity check included in the deal, but the legal entity backing the bid is a revocable trust run by Larry Ellison, a major concern for Warner Brothers Discovery's board. A revocable trust is no replacement for a secure commitment by a controlling stockholder, Warner Brothers Discovery wrote, noting the assets and liabilities in the trust are not public and can be modified at any time. The board said it had told Paramount repeatedly of the importance of a full and unconditional financing commitment from the Ellison family. The board worried that without a personal guarantee from the Ellison family, it would have limited recourse if Paramount's bid fell through. Paramount's market capitalization is around $15 billion, a fraction of the size of the company it is trying to acquire, making its financing a crucial aspect of its bid. Paramount has told investors that the Ellison Family Trust has more than $250 billion in assets, including roughly 1.16 billion shares of Oracle, which Larry Ellison helped found. Paramount noted the trust have been involved in other deals involving public companies. Paramount has said it was absurd to suggest that the family is not good for money. Its proposed deal with Warner Brothers Discovery includes a provision giving it the ability to sue Paramount to make sure it follows through on the deal, though such provisions have limitations. Paramount has also lined up $54 billion in debt from firms including Bank of America, Citigroup, Apollo Global Management. Warner Brothers Discovery deal with Netflix prohibits it from soliciting other offers. the Paramount could decide to raise its bid and present it to Warner Brothers Discovery. If Warner Brothers Discovery chooses another bidder, it should owe a Netflix or to Netflix a $2.8 billion fee. So the deal bid is 108 billion.4. They have a contingency fee of 2.8. So for my students, use your hyperscientific. Tell me what percentage is that for your. You can use that as extra credit. I want to know what the difference is by percentage and basis point. And of course, that's on your finals. And I want you guys to write a full paper on that. Netflix could also revise it and its offer to counter additional bids from Paramount. Paramount could also urge Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders to vote against the Netflix deal. Analysts do not expect the shareholder vote to happen before April. Whoa! So this could be strung out. This is already, if it was 12 meetings, 6 different offers, one offer every 2 weeks. They had lunches and brunches, and they're withheld by regulation to April. That's tax season. That's like a whole corporate year right there. Amazing. We're definitely going to see what happens with this. Paramount could also urge Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders to vote against the Netflix deal. Analysts did not expect the shareholder vote to happen before April. Hanging over a deal with either Netflix or Paramount is how regulators will respond. President Trump, whose administration must approve of any deal, has said that he plans to play a role in any decision. Warner Brothers Discovery said Wednesday its board did not believe there was a material difference in the risk the Paramount and Netflix deals faced being approved in the United States and abroad. It added that Netflix had agreed to pay a $5.8 billion fee if the deal gets blocked by regulators, which is more than the $5 billion that Paramount has offered. Also on Wednesday, Netflix sent a letter to Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders, reiterating its belief that its offer was better than Paramount's because of its superior financial certainty and clear funding structure, among other reasons. Netflix Corporation's chief executives, Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters, said that their effort was the right deal with the right partner at the right time. Although the ultimate victor is still uncertain, one aspect of the auction is clear. Mr. Zaslav will be celebrated by Warner Brothers Discovery shareholders for pulling off a blockbuster sale, one that seemed highly unlikely earlier this year. As recently as March, Mr. Zaslav was on the back foot. Plans to revive the Warner Brothers movie studio were going forward. He was positioned in the Hollywood trade media as a buffoon, a guy who cared more about his own fame and paycheck than he did about the future of the company. Warner Brothers Discovery shares slumped around 7.50 in April, down from nearly 25 even when Mr. Zaslav took over 3 years earlier. Suddenly, Warner's movie studio started to deliver hit after hit. The company has 2 films in the running for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Other efforts by Mr. Zaslav to turn the company around. Changes in how HBO Max is operated, for instance, also began to gel. The company's stock closed Tuesday at 28.90. Very well put together article, gives us a lot of insight because if it goes down to the shareholders, we'll deal with them in April. Hold on, there's a news update. Wait a minute. Okay. Warner Brothers Discovery Board Chair Samuel Piazza Jr. speaks with CNBC David Faber on Squawk Box today. Okay, we're gonna leave that for the finals, right? We'll leave that for the last module. And Bloomberg, I don't want to leave anybody out. Bloomberg, Warner Brother urges investors to reject Paramount bid. I want to be fair. I don't want to leave anything out, but come on, let's go for it. Let's go. Warner Brothers favorites Netflix over bid. Hold up. Oh, this is just a refresh. Okay, it's just updated. Let's go to CNBC. Please log on to cnbc.com and thank you for sponsoring today's masterclass. This article is brought to you by what the heezy? Not telling me anything. Okay, well, I guess it's courtesy of CNBC news releases. CNBC exclusive transcript. Warner Brothers Discovery Board Chair Samuel D. Piazza Jr. speaks with CNBC's David Faber on Squawk Box today. So, 27 minutes ago. All right, you guys ready? Let's go. Following is the unofficial transcript of a CNBC exclusive interview with Warner Brothers Discovery Board Chair Samuel D. Piazza Jr. on CNBC's Squawk Box. Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Time. Today, Wednesday, December 17th. Following is a link to the video on CNBC.com. Please log on to CNBC.com for any other additional news. All references must be sourced to CNBC. Thank you very much. David Faber. Sam, thanks for coming down. Samuel D. Piazza Jr. Thank you, David, for having us. Faber. Sam D. Piazza is the chairman of Warner Brothers. Of course, leads the board of directors. We're going through the filing right now. It's quite voluminous. D. Piazza. It is. Faber. But we're talking, I guess, what I want to start on really, what is Becky's question as well, which is around this financing question. If I could term it that way, that the board had. Can you explain why you would not trust that one of the richest men in the world would not be there when asked to provide the financing for the deal? Piazza. Well, first again, thank you for having us here to tell our story. Let's begin with the fact that Netflix made a compelling offer. It was heavy in cash, certainly of clothes, a high termination fee. It had all, and they responded to the operating issues that we were concerned about. These guys had every opportunity to deal with that broad range of issues, and they chose not to. And ultimately, the equity stack is always important here. And to be very direct, nowhere in any of these proposals did Larry Ellison guarantee. Rumor mill, father. And that could have potentially changed the board's decision. Question. Di Piazza. Well, obviously, the ability to deal directly with Larry if there was an issue to close would be critical. Otherwise, closing might not happen. And some of the proposals, and you've read them now, some of the proposals gave multiple ways for that equity stack to disappear. Now he guaranteed it through an irrevocable trust at the last minute. And frankly, that wasn't as good as an investment grade company that purported strong value, great responsive, and great response to our concern. of what it took to operate. So this is, I have enormous respect, as does the board, for the Edison family and for the Paramount company. It just didn't measure up on these bids, probably. Because when many investors look at it, and obviously I've talked to many of them, as you might imagine, the Piazza, so have we, Fabio. They don't see it the same way. I'm sure you're hearing from them to a certain extent. They see it as, wait a second, I got 30 bucks a share in cash from one of the richest men in the world. He's saying he backstops it. The financing on the bank side seems to be there. I think it was a Wells Fargo, Apollo, and 30 bucks a share with what they feel is more around certainty around the antitrust, that it is quicker and easier as far as an approval process. And that they simply say again, well, wait, we're talking about what? The possibility that he's going to empty his trust at some point and run away from this. I mean, they don't quite follow the Piazza. Well, our shareholders are thrilled at this point. Baba, well, they have to be very happy. The Piazza, they're looking. Auburn. By the way, take a look at that, Sam. That'll make you happy too. That chart, yeah, no doubt. Although before Paramount came, nobody was happy. The Piazza. Well, we've been at this journey for 3.5 years, delevering the company, and we knew there had to be change. That's why we announced the spin. And so, when Paramount showed up, it became an active process. What is said on the show, you had David Ellison here. What's said there, what's said in the Wall Street Journal, are nice to hear. What's important, it's what's on the paper. And now I think, given our release this morning, our investors can make it see. Why did we decide that we were not confident that one of the richest people in the world would be there at closing and doing a deal is great. Closing a deal is better. Fiber. It is without a doubt. They say they were disadvantaged in part throughout the process. They put this letter in there as well, claiming that you and the board were not giving them the consideration you should have. What's your response? The Piazza. Nothing further from the truth. And again, look at the way we responded in our release today. Dozens and dozens and dozens of meetings with all the bidders. The Peace Guide team had hundreds of people visiting with us. And after each of their proposals, 6, we haven't had it. This is the response to the 7 hidden meeting. We knew of 6, right? There's a 7. After each of their proposals, we told them, as we did the other bidders, what you needed to do to reach our expectations. So in other words, they didn't just counter, and back and forth. They said, look, this is what we need to build the bridge. We're ready. This is why I have the neck, because I'm not going through this with record labels, etc. Let's continue. They chose not to. He kept it 100. And in the end, the board's responsibility is to take the highest value, considering the risk and other implications. We think that Netflix is compelling. And so it was not. It was really David. It wasn't really a hard choice. So they're trying to force his hand. Very powerful man. He's not going to be forced. Father. It wasn't a hard choice. Di Piazza. No, not at the end. It was not a hard choice. Father. Really, I mean, 30 bucks versus 28.75? It's not a hard choice. Di Piazza. 27.75. Barbara, excuse me, 27.75. You know it's 27.90 at time of recording. the Piazza, but it also includes Faber, 23.25 in cash, and the Piazza. It includes Discovery Global, which has two factors. It not only has the factor of its value, and that's what you guys have all been focused on. Analysts said $3, $4, $5. The market will ultimately decide on Faber. On the global network piece, yes, the Piazza. But it also included the ability to separate. And if the Paramount skip deal didn't close, then we only would have claims to Peacock, which is a great company, but it's a $15 billion market cap company. We weren't going to get out of that. We'd still be owning the networks, combined with streaming and studio, and we just don't think that was a risk worth taking. Faber, did the board have full access to the information in real time that it needed in real time for my students? This is the key right there. Everything is data, everything is technology, everything is real time. DPIs, every step of the way. Dozens. I mean, when I read the litany meetings, I was actually fatigued to have read what we went through. The board saw all of the proposals, all of the documents. Once we got to the binding stage, the board went very deep. So even when you're doing a proposal, identify where is the binding phase. Are we building the bridge and connecting, or are we wasting time spinning our wheels in the mud? 10,000 no's, 10,000 yeses. Let's go. Dreams come true, right? The board saw all of the proposals, all of the documents. Once we got to the binding stage, the board went very deep. And in the interim stage, we had a small group of board members that were helping the advisors focus on the right kinds of issues. But we were keeping what we were keeping. I was talking to the board members every day, so dozens and dozens of calls to board members. So no, this was transparent. It was board led. It was robust. So the board is on their job. They're saying, wait a minute, hold on, let's slow this down. This is 7 times. This is their counter. They just don't want to go to the forefront and say it to the market. But we understand, right? It was board led, Faber. That's also a key question, which is how involved was David Zaslav? Obviously, CEO, he's going to be involved. Deep yes. Faber, there's no doubt about that. That's just been a perception. I don't believe it was necessarily correct. And somehow he was trying to secure himself a situation that would be most favorable for him post the deal. Deep Piazza. Yeah, nothing further from the truth. And that's the board's responsibility. We are not representing David. We're representing our investors. And so we're looking for the ways to get the best value for our investors. If a bidder wants to hire David, and that's their business, but it can't come at the cost of an investor. And so, no, there were no thumbs on the scale on this one, and we weren't. We would have been very happy to do a peace guide deal, Faber. And would you still be, let's say, that they address the concerns that you've raised in this 14D9 that Larry Ellison says, all right, you've got my personal guarantee, whatever that may mean or not mean, and they raise their bid. Would it be enough for the board to say to Netflix, all right, guys, we deem that potentially superior? DPX. The board has shown through this entire process, even in announcing the spin and doing the bridge and all of that, we will listen to whatever is presented to us, not in your show, but in writing. And but at this point, I'm not going to speculate what they might do. I will say The equity is important, but there's a lot of other things. We have a bridge loan to finance. Fabio, you do. D Piazza. And if we don't finance it, we get in real trouble. And the Peace Guy deal read, it is short in that space, and we told them that over and over. And Uncle said, okay, let's pick it back up from that. So this is the Piazza's response, okay? The board has shown through this entire process, even in announcing the spin and doing the bridge and all of that, that we will listen to whatever is presented to us, not in your show, but in writing. And but at this point, I'm not going to speculate what they might do. I will say that equity is important, but there's a lot of other things. We have a bridge loan to finance. You do. And if we don't finance it, the Piazza, we get in real trouble. And the Peace Guy deal read, it is short in that space. And we told them that over and over again. Faber, over and over again because they say, hey, you didn't even respond to our last proposal. They say you didn't respond to our last proposal. We didn't even tell you it wasn't best and final. How do you respond to that? So after 7 negotiations, you still haven't gotten to the binding, but there's no best and final. That nobody said let's not waste more time. I'm waiting. We're waiting. We're waiting. We're waiting. We're talking about April. We're trying to figure out is it a December thing or we got to pay taxes immediately because it's looking like taxes immediately. Let's go. The Piazza. We told all the bidders on that Monday to submit their best shots. I like that. That's an old negotiator term right there. We didn't say best and final. We said submit your best shot. And we have no obligation to come back and renegotiate it. So they put that in the contract. Shout out to Team Rami, Team Josh J.O., Team TMP, Team Mauricio Ruiz, and Team Manek, Team Mr. Delgado and Delgado Logan. We need to put that into the new contracts. I didn't think about that. We told all the bidders on that Monday to submit their best shot. We didn't say best and final. We said submit your best shot. And we have no obligation to come back and renegotiate. Warner Brothers. That was the proposal that had a 7-stack equity group and the CFI US issues. Those things popped up. And that, Faber, it kind of went away. The Piazza. It did go away before the final, and the final shows up shortly before the board goes into session. We have to make a choice for our investors. We think these are incredible assets and they need to have the right home. But our investors need to get the best value. And over the course of those days, it was clear to the board that the Netflix proposal was compelling. And I just got an idea. What if I just market and promote the auction myself and use Whatnot? Thinking about it. Whatnot over Dubai. We'll see. Faber. Finally, just, antitrust risk is similar. I mean, really, the board believes there's not a material difference. The Piazza. Either of these deals can get done. Both of these deals will have to fight their way through the Department of Justice. And so, as is always the case, I was on the AT&T board when AT&T did the deal with Discovery. So here comes a new challenge. Warner to acquire Warner, right? Di Piazza. Yes. And so we're going to see a familiar face in that process. Each of these deals will have their challenges. The merging studios, merging streamers, they all have issues. But we think they're both highly likely to get Bobby. We do. Both highly likely, despite what might be the president's potential opposition to one. Di Piazza. You know, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna go there. I have enormous respect for President Trump, and we're following the law. We're following the president. We think either of these deals will get done. I think introducing CFI-US and FCC in the Paramount deal, which they did for a while, and they began to move away from it. Father, yes, Di Piazza. That only complicated it. Netflix is clean, a direct path to closure, and it's highly cash. It's a great company. They will let us operate. They'll let us spin the Discovery Global. It was a compelling offer. Father, when are you gonna when are you gonna have a shareholder vote to tell us about the Piazza? We haven't set the date. I love that. Yo, he is good. The Piazza is good. That's the kind of exec I need in my company, right? He said we haven't set the date. You know what the plan is? We have no plan, right? We're gonna use that strategy for the next few weeks. 2.25 million for every phone call you make from me up until December 25th. The Piazza. We haven't set the date. We want to get through a few of these issues first, but it'll be in the spring sometime. So they're pushing after taxes. They're gonna negotiate everything that they can get from now until April. If the stockholders don't just override it, right? Father, in the spring, the Piazza. Spring or early summer. He threw it even further. He said early summer. So not 3, 4 months. He's like 5, 6, 7 months. 7 offers, 7 meetings, 7 proposals, 7 adjustments, 7 non-binding elements. What's your best shot? Not best and final. I like that. The Piazza, spring or early summer. It'll be as soon as we can get to that. Yo, shout out to Sip with the drip. Yo, Zip, I cannot believe you made it to CNBC. They said we'll see as soon as we can get to that. Let's get to that. Sip with the drip. Let's get to that. Yo, shout out to Zip. Shout out to Cuban Link, the legend, and shout out to SA. Faber, you're gonna be getting a sense from your shareholders prior to the shareholders. Prior to that, as how they're going to vote. The Piazza. Yeah. And we hear from a lot of shareholders, and our shareholders are very pleased that we're representing them. That means they're gonna go for the best deal. Shout out to them, yo. We're not representing anything else, and so they are. They're very encouraged by the fact of what we've done to this point. Yo, thumbs up. I agree. We're learning so much from you guys. They want no, they want us to, right? They want us to. They want to see us to have a deal that brings them value, considers risks and costs, and can get closed. He's telling you, yo, we are not going down without a fight. Faber, no, understood. It comes back to where we started. Sam, certainly appreciate you for taking the time here. Obviously, we'll be following this closely. Perhaps speak again prior to that yet to be set shareholder vote. And we're waiting. D Piazza, happy to do it. Yo, amazing. Mission accomplished. We have climbed the mountain. We have tasted success. Our aim is to taste success on a daily basis. So now I can have peace of mind. I can go back to my office and go on about my business. I can pray and meditate, absorb all of this in, and then give you guys my feedback. Have an amazing day today. May you conquer everything in your path. May everything that you touch turn into solid gold bars and solid silver bars and beautiful and precious gemstones such as moissanite and laboratory grown diamonds or any laboratory grown gem. Always remember to dream big because dreams come true. It happened to me, and I know for a fact it's going to happen to you. You guys have the best teacher in the world. Love you guys. We'll be right back. Oh, in a quick prayer. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for all the blessings in our lives. We thank you, Heavenly Father, for all the blessings in our lives. We worry not about what we don't have because we're in the process of getting it. And in that journey, everything you do is in your name. We'll be right back. I need to go work out, yacht club. Got to go for a cruise in the machine and back to the office. So we'll be back faster than you guys can do this. Offline, baby. Peace out. I got the best job in the world, man. It's what I do, man. It's what I do.